Hey guys, this is Jay Calderon with Jay Unboxing here, giving you a personal prediction for the Akeem Ennis-Brown versus Sam Maxwell contest taking place on Saturday. And as always, this is just my take. Your prediction can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. A little bit of fight info here. We have Akeem Ennis-Brown versus Sam Maxwell taking place at the Arena Birmingham in Birmingham, of course, airing live on BT Sport over on that side of the pond in the junior welterweight clash with the British and Commonwealth titles on the line. It's a very intriguing domestic dust-up between unbeaten fighters of very different and distinct fighting styles. Ennis-Brown is certainly the more flashy fighter with defensive skills and a little more of a trickster in terms of his approach. Meanwhile, Maxwell is much more the traditional boxer-puncher with power in his shots. In some ways, this is a battle of if Maxwell can pin Ennis-Brown down long enough to stop him, or does the elusive Akeem keep Sam missing? Without much more babble, let's get into this one. Starting with Ennis-Brown here, I think for Ennis-Brown to win, he needs to press Maxwell back with the jab. Maxwell is much less effective going backwards. Therefore, it makes sense to keep Sam pressed back. However, Ennis-Brown doesn't exactly have the power to do that. Still, what he does have is a very pesky jab that can overwhelm his opponents. It might not stop Maxwell, but it might stop him in his tracks and force him to back up, looking to avoid the handful of jabs being tossed his way anytime he looks to engage. Naturally, when Maxwell does look to press regardless, that jab will set up solid left hands right behind them for Ennis-Brown to score with more telling blows. I would also say keep your overall work rate high. And this goes with that last point. When Maxwell can set up shop and dictate the pace, he is a much more capable fighter. If Ennis-Brown is able to control the tempo and keep his work rate high, that means Maxwell is far less likely to be in control of the affair. Use the jab to set things up. Work in those left hands when Maxwell is stepping back and keep your in and out movement going as to frustrate and confuse Maxwell, who will potentially struggle to find his spots. That sort of exposure leaves him more likely to making mistakes. And finally, I would say don't trade your left for his right. One area where Maxwell has a distinct advantage, perhaps the biggest in the fight for either man, is in the power department. And that's fine, but only if Ennis-Brown does his best to eliminate power from the equation. If he's standing there trading power shots, my guess is he will be the chin to crack before Maxwell. Maxwell's right hand probably beats Ennis-Brown's left in terms of power. However, that doesn't mean you don't throw the left. You just don't exchange with it. Set the left up. Counter with the left. Throw when you have Maxwell backing up. Look for your moments, not when it's a gamble that likely benefits Maxwell most. Now for Maxwell to win, I would say don't allow Ennis-Brown to dictate the pace. Maxwell has a solid jab and decent hand speed, especially when he takes a bit off his shots and just lets his hands go. Early on especially, I think that best suits Maxwell. Jab, keep it quick and strong. Just disrupt Ennis-Brown with it. Make him have to reset. Time it against Ennis-Brown's. Make him have to worry about it even when he throws his own. Even in trading, the power disparity suggests it's a good deal for Maxwell, who probably gets more than he'd have to take. Use that jab for three things. Set up your right hand, break up the rhythm and tempo of Ennis-Brown, and bust your man up early so that it pays dividends later in the contest. I would also say try to force the exchanges. Well, you don't want to get completely buck wild crazy in there. Exchanges benefit Maxwell. Every time he can pin Ennis-Brown down and is allowed to get off a shot or two, he increases his chances of hurting his trickster foe. Again, it's not a complete impossibility that Ennis-Brown can hurt Maxwell. However, if I'm Sam, I'm willing to bet that sitting back and waiting doesn't improve my chances either. So in other words, be active. Press. Set up your work with that jab and look to land those big shots, particularly the left hook right hand combination, because more often than not, your shots landed will be more impactful than his shots landed in return. And finally, that left hook could be the answer. And speaking of that left hook in that second to last point there, I will say the left hook to me seems to be the key to the victory here for Maxwell. Many feel the right hand is the southpaw killer, and they are right. However, two things. Number one, you still need to set it up, and a left hook can do that for you. And number two, Ennis-Brown in particular seems able to be lined up a bit easier with the left. His very wiry style might be easier to tame with the left hand that you can throw with more versatility than a straight right. In other words, you can kind of loop it, you can kind of throw it over the top, kind of corkscrew it a little bit more. You can do more with it to try and figure out what best suits hitting Ennis-Brown. So find the timing and the spot and the sort of trajectory of that shot for you that best suits your left hand, line them up for the right, rinse, wash, and repeat. Now, getting into my pick here, it's a tricky one to pick. Effectively, it'd be easier to know what these guys have to offer a fight like this after they fought one another, because they don't have that test out of the way. This effectively is their test. Yet, without that opponent out of the way that can really challenge them thus far, that they expect to be challenged by, it's a tough call. Still, must be made. While I can see Ennis-Brown winning an ugly 12-round split decision just via making the fight ugly, making it hard to score, but making it seem more like an Ennis-Brown fight, I'm going with Maxwell in this one for 3 reasons. Firstly, it's a 12-round fight. I think that's enough time for Maxwell to tame Ennis-Brown a little bit and land some hurt on him. Secondly, I don't think Ennis-Brown's style grants him any favors with judges. I'm not saying he will be robbed, but I don't expect him to get the benefit of the doubt in most cases, especially against another guy who's favored in many respects like him by a lot of people and who has probably what you would consider a more appealing, palatable style. And finally, I do think that left hook right hand combo from Maxwell will score well enough that his more impactful shots leave the lasting marks on the fight, especially as the bout wears on, which leads me to favor him a little bit in this very close encounter. Sam Maxwell via split decision. And the betting odds seem to have this fight pretty close, similar to the way that I do, to be honest here. You do have Ennis-Brown as a slight favorite at a minus 165 with Maxwell at a plus 130. But for the most part, if I was looking at this fight from the eyes of someone looking to lay a bet on this fight, I would say that that's a relatively even money fight. It's a very, very close call. Again, I do favor Maxwell in this one, so laying a small bet on him seems reasonable. Again, I don't know enough about what really is going to be there if this fight gets tough or physical or too demanding or what have you to lay much more of a bet on it than, say, a small wager. But I do favor him in this encounter, and I think his fighting style will probably allow for him to have some success, but also probably get the benefit of the doubt in a lot of those closer rounds during this encounter. Prediction record going into the weekend here is 28-9-3 with 11 exact. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts there, your predictions, bets, so on and so forth. How do you have this one going? Like I said, it's a very, very close encounter. Could go either way with very distinct styles. So love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow on Twitter at jcaldorn_JOB. You can email me at junboxing@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you there as well. Also, be sure to check out junboxing.com for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, and more. And as always, until next time.